already thinking. Of course, she needs to get her specialty first, so it's kind of hard, but they might be separated for a little bit, but we're going to eventually get them together somehow. But no, it shouldn't matter when your marriage happens. Yes?
What if you decide you want to join like halfway through medical school?
Yeah, great question. I'll tell you, we just got a call today. I'll tell you, and this is what me and Sergeant Purdue always, we make fun of ourselves because we sound like used car salesmen. We have 159 slots pretty much this year, nationwide. They go pretty quick. We only offer usually typically a 4-year scholarship and a 3-year scholarship. Although he is now dealing with a 2-year scholarship, but we have to get a special waiver. We allowed 3 2-year scholarships so far this year, and so it just depends if it gets approved or not. But typically, you're either getting a 4-year scholarship for us or a 3-year scholarship. After that, we have other programs. One called the FAP is where we sponsor you through residency. You get your regular residency pay with it, whoever residence you're with. The Air Force will add to that income with $67,000, and then there's a 1-for-1 plus 1 payback on that program. But for the HPSP to get your med school paid for, it's either going to be a 4-year or a 3-year scholarship.
The 3-year, if you join like after the first year of med school, is that when?
That's correct. And really, our doors open for our scholarships October 1st. This year, we filled all of our 3-year requirements by the 15th of October, was it? And that was 60 slots. And so,
and those were mostly people that applied for the 4-year that either didn't get picked up or they got their acceptance letters way too late and all the scholarships were gone.
Just for me, last year, North and South Carolina, I put in 18 applications. 11 of them were selected nationwide. This is out of nationwide. And the rest went on alternate status. We had over 80 alternates last year. I tried to get them a 3-year, putting them their package back in. They had to meet the board and everything again. And only one got picked up, and I guess the rest did not. So very competitive. They go very fast, I would say. Usually I would start applying at the same time you're applying to med school. If you're already accepted to med school and you're planning on starting this fall, now would be the time to maybe schedule an appointment with us, or at least sit down and handle your individual questions. If you're looking at med school next year, I would call one of us at the same time you start your MCAS, basically. When you start your application process, that's when you should get with an Air Force recruiter. I saw kind of a hand, I think, maybe. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have to go to like a specific Air Force recruiter? Like I'm from Sumter, can I go to the Shaw recruiters or?
You don't like it?
I'm just asking.
No, we handle both North and South Carolina. So I mean, we're based out of Raleigh, but if you said you were interested, we'd drive down and come see you.
What's taxable as far as the stipend goes and for earnings?
Everything.
One?
Well, as far as these numbers, your bonus is going to be taxable. Your 1992 is going to be taxable, depending on how many dependents and things like that you claim or exempt. I'm not sure how it would work out for you individually. If you were to ever get deployed, and if it's in a war zone area, I don't know the proper terminology. You'll notice Air Force people are a little more non-military. I don't use all these crazy words. I'm sure there's an acronym, but I don't know it. But if you're deployed to a military zone, of course your pay and any bonuses you get would be non-taxable, which is a great time to do your re-upping. Like if you could time a deployment at the same time you said you wanted to extend as an Air Force doctor.
You see
that's 60 grand, whatever it
the
be.
pilots when they're re-upping and they're looking at these huge bonuses, and it's amazing how they end up in Saudi Arabia for 2 days and that month they're re-enlisting, so they're going to get taxed on their bonus.
So I said I was going to come back to it, but I was going to wait for someone to ask. But does anyone have a question about deployments and like what goes on over there and things like that? Nobody? Awesome. Sweet.
How long are deployments?
Great question. Okay, so deployments, of course, everybody knows what's going on over there, and unfortunate as it is, sometimes we do need to send people. I would never tell a doctor that you would never have the chance to deploy. But I'd say it would all depend really a lot on your specialty. Of course, if you're a general surgeon or, say, an orthopedic surgeon, the chances of you deploying could be a lot greater than if you're, say, an OB. Well, there's no need for that over there. But typically, on paper, the Air Force deployment scheme is it's a 20-month window, 15 of that being, I'm going to confuse you, maybe don't write that. On paper, it's a 20-month cycle. 15 of it is like build up, 3 months or 2 months is training with a 3-month deployment. That's how we typically roll. That's how we would like, that's the strategy we built to deploy. But right now we're involved in 2 different places, Iraq, Afghanistan. A lot of our docs right now, of course, are in Haiti, and so it puts a little bit, it kind of messed up the program. So the word I'm getting from docs right now is, they're looking at close to 6 months deployment. But hopefully by the time you guys finish med school, residency, you'll be back to normal, looking at 3-month deployments.
But you notice you mentioned, Iraq and Afghanistan, of course, but, it's nothing for a deployment to be, like something that pops up like Haiti. We're sending doctors there. It'd be nothing for you to end up, doing some kind of humanitarian in South America. Just because it's labeled deployment, it doesn't automatically mean you're going to go to a war zone. You can do 6 months in, at Ramstein doing something at the hospital there as a deployment.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I always say, the Air Force, I think our official mission statement is to put bombs on target. That's the ring a bell? Which we do effectively, but we're not all about doing that. Of course, we do things like Haiti, of course. We're one of the first on the scene, Air Force docks and things like that. South America and Africa, we are definitely providing help. And so when we say deployment, just like Sergeant Purdue said, it's not necessarily mean you're going to the desert or in support of something like that. It could be just like these. We were there for Katrina, the tsunami. Anytime there's a major thing worldwide, of course, the Air Force, because we're so mobile.
A lot of people say we're the Air Force, or I guess the United States is the world's police. And I think especially for their military positions, we're sometimes the world's physicians.
I think you have one.
Are there any specifications on once you go on deployment and come back, how long you have to stay before you can be called to go on another one?
Yeah, there sure is.
It's the same cycle. It's the 18-month build-up. So you're probably not going to go anywhere for, the 18 months. And they came up with that system because, I guess, early 90s, a lot of people were, things were happening and people were just being called, with a 2-week notice, and it was just sporadic and chaos and nobody knew what was going on. So they came up with this system where there was a window for you, and you knew that if you were, called it on the bubble, if you're on the bubble for 4 months, you could be deployed. So, that 4 months comes along, that way you can plan vacations or weddings or, even childbirth sometime around that. But, you could go. Now that 4 months may come and go, you may not go anywhere. So, you're not going to go, you're not going to be on the bubble again for another 18 months.
I used to have my bubble card. Basically, there's 8 cycles, and so when they assign you to, like, say I'm in cycle 8, you can look on the calendar and say cycle 8's deploying from March to June. And so that way I can, my wife, my family, my kids all know they can start kind of processing it that Dad might be gone. And it, I think it's worked really great for the Air Force as far as, stress levels and all kinds of things, but, we kind of gone away from it. But if you do deploy and get back, typically the whole cycle would start over. And it's 20 months. I guess it would be.
And you're not going to come right out of residency and deploy somewhere. You're going to have a spin-up time there because you still got to get in the Air Force and start learning things. Like we just went out to a base last week and we were talking with the pharmacy people there, and when they bring somebody new in out of pharmacy school, they can't go anywhere for 2 years.
that answer your question?
How much does deployment contribute to advancement?
Well, it depends on where you're at, I think, especially when you get up into maybe lieutenant colonel, colonel, especially general. They will look at those kinds of things, you know. You're not going to advance in the Air Force if you go in and want to be a family physician and that's all you do for the next 20 or 30 years. You're probably not going to make it past major, definitely not lieutenant colonel. So you're not going to be stagnant. You're probably going to, if you make a career out of it, you're probably going to move every 4 years because that's part of the career progression ladder. And you have to do those kind of things, not just in a hospital. They look at, the Air Force wants a well-rounded individual to be the leaders of the world. They want to see you involved in the community. They want to see you doing things with charity, you know, extracurricular activities within the Air Force. Like, for say we brought a doctor out today, that would look really good on him for him to come out here and talk to the AED of Clemson. I mean, that's something he would have on his probably his yearly report that they do, like a report card for the Air Force. We get one every year. So, and those are the things they want to see, you know, for people to advance in rank. So it would come into play at some point.
You know, well, not that I disagree. I think what it's going to play a lot of as well is when you apply for jobs. Like, say you're a lieutenant colonel and you want to be the commander of, you know, a clinic out in Travis, and so I think that kind of stuff would definitely play. What would you say? More so than rank? I mean, in the medical corps, you're going to at least start. You got to make major, lieutenant colonel, and up to colonel before it starts getting political, and they start really looking at your background and things like that. But I would say, like job specific, like if you wanted to be a hospital commander or things, that's when they were going to look at your record and see, because of course when you deploy, that just brings you more experience as far as leadership, things like that on your job. That's why a lot of people are afraid when we bring up the deployment talk, but you have to keep in mind there's a lot of people out there that are fighting for these spots. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I've been in 16 years, I got 3 kids, I really don't want to go at this point anywhere. But there's a ton of people that's the sole reason that they came into the Air Force. I mean, remember when I first opened, I said that there's 2 different types of people. I meet people every day that, you know, their fathers, their grandfathers did it, and they're going to do it too, and they want to deploy, and they want to go serve their country and do things like that. Yeah, I met a fully qualified doc who's a surgeon, and he got with a doc. I had him meet an Air Force doc, and they were kind of looking at slides of things that were going on over there, and things that were discussing to me. He was all hyped up about it because he was a doc, and you know, just kind of, this is people come in for different reasons, and some people deploy, and I think you'd have a harder time than you think getting deployed. Again, 16 years, never deployed. And I've been in a lot of positions where I should have deployed, and I never have.
I've been in 16 years and I've been around the world half a dozen times.
And when I was younger, I wanted to go, and I never got the chance.
I actually lived in Japan for 4 years. Kadena, we'll talk about it. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you go into the reserve after active duty or not?
Anyone that comes in the military has a military service obligation. This is either whether you're enlisted, an officer, whatever. It's an 8-year service obligation. 4 years of your time is going to be active duty status. The next 4 years is going to be inactive ready reserve. What this means is the Air Force is going to keep your name, number, really on a Rolodex. In the case of, I would say it would have to be like World War III for them to call you, because we have yet to enact our IRR. Meaning we have yet to call people back to active duty.
You have to report in, like, you know, people think reserve, you know, I got to do the week in a month, the 2 weeks in the summer kind of things. You don't get hear from the Air Force. Actually, nobody on IR has ever heard from the Air Force after their service.
Inactive ready reserve is not your